Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naran Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jayamudiraet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 9, the passing away of Bhishma Deva in the presence of Lord Krishna, text number 49. Pitra cha anumataha raja Pitra cha anumato raja Vasudeva Anumoditaha Vasudeva Anumoditaha Chakara Rajyam Dharmena Chakara Rajyam Dharmena Pitra Paitamaham Vibhuhu Pitra Paitamaham Vibhuhu Pitra Chanumato Raja Vasudevo Anumoditaha Chakara Rajyam Dharmena Pitra Paitamaham Vibhuhu Pitra Chanumato Raja Vasudeva Anumoditaha Chakara Rajyam Dharmena Pitra Paitamaham Vibhuhu Pitra Chanumato Raja Vasudeva Anumoditaha Chakara Rajyam Dharmena Pitra Paitamaham Vibhuhu Pitra Chanumato Raja Vasudevo Anumoditaha Chakara Rajyam Dharmena Pitra Paitamaham Vibhuhu Pitra Chanumato Raja Vasudevo Anumoditaha Chakara Rajyam Dharmena Pitra Paitamaham Vibhuhu Pitra Chanumato Raja Vasudeva Anumoditaha Chakara Rajyam Dharmena Pitra Paitamaham Vibhuhu Pitra Chanumato Raja Nasudevo Anumoditaha Chakara Rajyam Dharmena Pitra Paitamaham Vibhuhu Pitra by his uncle Dhritarashtra Chanumataha with his approval Raja King Yudhisthira Vasudeva Anumoditaha confirmed by Lord Shri Krishna Chakara executed Rajyam the kingdom Dharmena in compliance with the codes of royal principles. Pitra, father. Pitamaham, forefather. Vibhuhu, as great as. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. After this, the great religious king, Maharaja Yudhisthira, executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes and royal principles, which were approved by his uncle and confirmed by Lord Sri Krishna. Translation with repetition. After this, the great religious king, Maharaja Yudhisthira, executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes and royal principles which were approved by his uncle and confirmed by Lord Sri Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Yudhisthira was not a mere tax collector. He was always conscious of his duty as a king, which is no less than that of a father or spiritual master. The king is to see to the welfare of the citizens from all angles of social, political, economic, and spiritual upliftment. The king must know that human life is meant for liberating the encaged soul from the bondage of material conditions. And therefore, his duty is to see that the citizens are properly looked after to attain this highest stage of perfection. Maharaj Yudhisthira followed this principle strictly, as it will be seen from the next chapter. Not only did he follow the principles, but he also got approval from his old uncle, who was experienced in political affairs. And that was also confirmed by Lord Krishna, the speaker of the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. Maharaj Yudhisthira is the ideal monarch, and monarchy under a trained king like Maharaj Yudhisthira is by far the most superior form of government, superior to modern republics or governments of the people by the people. The mass of people, especially in this age of Kali, are all born Shudras, basically low-born, ill-trained, unfortunate, and badly associated. Therefore, they themselves do not know the highest perfectional aim of life. Therefore, votes cast by them actually have no value, and thus persons elected by such irresponsible votes cannot be responsible representatives like Maharaj Yudhisthira. Thus ends the Transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is the last verse from this chapter, which is the passing away of Bhishma Deva in the presence of Lord Sri Krishna. So in this verse it is being said, Prabhupada is saying after this. So what happened before this is that we saw that Bhishma Deva left his body, then the final rites were performed by Maharaj Yudhisthira, and then Lord Krishna was glorified by all the sages, and they all left back to their hermitages. And we also saw that Maharaj Yudhisthira, accompanied by Lord Sri Krishna, they come to Hastinapura, and they console his uncle Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, Aunt Gandhari. And after this, what is happening? So after this, it is being mentioned here that Maharaj Yudhisthira is now executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes and royal principles. So we can see here that after all these things, Maharaja Yudhisthira was enthroned to be the king and is executing the royal power in the kingdom. Now, he's not just executing, but he's executing in a very specific way. And that is being described here, and it's very important for us to note that. So here it is being said, Pitra Chanumato Raja. So Pitra is referring to his uncle Yudhisthira, Cha and Anumataha, so by approval. So this is very important point, that although Maharaj Yudhisthira is victorious in the battlefield, yet he is taking approval from his uncle before becoming the king or before executing the power, the royal power. This is a very important principle to note, is to take approval. And Srila Prabhupada in his lecture on this verse explains that Dhritarashtra, who is the uncle, basically his younger brother was Pandu, and because Dhritarashtra was blind by birth, he could not become the king. Prabhupada says that a king must be fit, he must be proper to execute his duties. And because Dhritarashtra was blind, he cannot execute the role of a king. And therefore his younger brother Pandu was made as the king. But King Pandu died very young. And then there was a conspiracy made by Dhritarashtra and his sons that, okay, now let my sons become the king. And there was a political conspiracy, and therefore there was this fight of Mahabharata, Kurukshetra, for who is going to be the next king. And Prabhupada writes, the Kshatriyas, they settle matter in a specific way. They settle matter by strength. Prabhupada says they don't go to a court to settle things. By the strength, whoever comes out victorious, they will rule the kingdom. So in this case, as one can see, that after the battle, only the 5 Pandavas were alive, all the Kauravas, they were dead. And in that sense, the Maharaja Yudhisthira is natural, he is supposed to become the next king. Yet, he is taking approval of his uncle. So this is a great quality of a devotee. Although he is qualified to become the king by the strength, by the codes of Kshatriya, by the codes of war, he has won, and therefore he is naturally supposed to be the king. Yet he is taking approval from his uncle. And Dhritarashtra, now he says, yes, you have come victorious, by your strength you have won, and therefore you are qualified and you are supposed to be the next king. And Dhritarashtra also agrees to that. He approves that. So you can see that this is a very important principle of taking approval. And then there is furthermore, this verse also says, Vasudevo Anumoditaha, confirmed by Lord Sri Krishna. Not only that he should be king and execute this royal power, not only he got approval from his uncle, but this is also confirmed by Lord Sri Krishna. So the authoritative confirmation is also very important for a devotee to execute his duties. Now, there are various examples throughout Bhagavatam where devotees take permission, they take approval before they actually conduct their activities. And one famous example is that of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who is the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Actually, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami himself tells that on whose order did he write this book and how did this book come about. So in that, he mentions, in fact, in the first Adi Leela, 8th chapter, there is a description about how Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami actually started writing this book. In that, he mentions that there are so many devotees in Vrindavan who are actually very, very eager to hear about Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And even before Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami actually wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita, there was a book by Vrindavan Das Thakur called Chaitanya Bhagavata. In fact, earlier it was called Chaitanya Mangala, and later the name was changed to Chaitanya Bhagavata. So, Chaitanya Bhagavata already describes many aspects, many pastimes and truths about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. But the devotees who were so absorbed, who had so much faith and love for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, who were hearing this Chaitanya Bhagavata, they also wanted to hear more, because the qualities and the pastimes of the Lord are unlimited, and they wanted to hear more. And amongst them, Haridas Pandita, a disciple of Ananta Acharya, who is a disciple of Gadadhara Pandit. So these devotees were all in Vrindavan, and they were all absorbed in hearing the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And similarly, there were many other devotees who were worshipping Lord Govinda Deva. They were all very, very eager to hear about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. So they tell Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who came from Navadvip to Vrindavan, because he is blessed by Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And so they all ask him, can you please write a book on the glories of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And at that time, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, oh, I am so unqualified. I am so filled with so many material desires. I am insignificant. I am unqualified. How can I write this book? But he says that, oh, this is the order of the Vaishnavas. So he considers all these great Vaishnavas as his preceptor, Siksha Gurus. He considers them to be instructing spiritual masters. And he thinks, oh, this is the order. And then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami goes to the temple of Madan Mohan. And there the Pujari was serving the lotus feet of the Lord, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also goes to pray at the lotus feet of the Lord, Madan Mohana. And he wants to get confirmation. Is this right? Should I do this? And then a garland falls from the Lord's garland. One of the garlands falls down. And then that Pujari comes and offers this to offers it to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, then he takes this as an approval of the Lord, confirmation of the Lord. And then furthermore, he also prays to Vrindavan Das Thakur, who already wrote about the glories of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he takes permission from him. He takes permission from other acharyas, other great Vaishnavas, and then he starts writing. So these endeavors of writing transcendental literature or being a spiritual master is not an ordinary thing. It is a great responsibility. It requires great empowerment to actually do these works. And for that, permission, approval is absolutely necessary. And Prabhupada writes there that no one should attempt to write transcendental literature without being empowered and approved, granted permission from the superior acharyas. So this is very, very important to follow, to get approval, take permission, to confirm that this is the right thing to do, and then to do. In usual cases, as soon as some idea comes, one is very eager to execute. One thinks, this is very nice, I will just do it. This will give result. No. It is very important. One should follow in the footsteps of the acharyas. One should follow the orders that are given by the acharyas, the spiritual master, and then perform activity. Then it is service. Otherwise, it may be a grand plan, but it may not please. It is not the order. It is not approved. Then it is not appropriate for a devotee to do. And actually, this verse has so many parallels with what is currently happening, as there are current issues about the system and the position of Srila Prabhupada and what devotees are meant to do. Actually, one can draw a lot of parallels from this verse as what is happening. And actually, this simple one verse can explain a lot of things as what is right and wrong in the current system of how devotees are following certain things. So, This point of approval and taking permission, getting confirmation is a very important thing for all the devotees to follow so as to advance in spiritual life and to make their activities actually devotional. Because in this chapter, before explaining this aspect, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also mentions that one may go on chanting for many, many years, but if one is committing offenses, one will not get love of Godhead. So similarly, one may be doing so many activities, so-called devotional activities, but if they are not approved, if they are not confirmed, it may not give the desired benefit. The desired transformation of the heart will not happen. Therefore, it is very important for us to pay attention to this principle. And in fact, not only Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, but even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to take permission. In fact, when he was in Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to go to Vrindavan. King Prataprudra, he was very disappointed, became very unhappy. Oh, how can I live in this kingdom without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? If Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes, this kingdom has no value, it is nothing. My life is nothing. Then he immediately goes to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Raya and he says, please devise a plan so that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will not go. So the devotees, Ramananda Raya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, they go to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and say, Mahaprabhu, Rath Yatra is coming, please wait. And after Rath Yatra gets over, they say, Kartik is coming, it will be very cold in Vrindavan, please don't go. Please attend few more festivals here and then you go. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually consulting them when to go to Vrindavan. Although Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is independent, he does not require permission. But yet, he is consulting the devotees as when he should go. Similarly, the case of Kapila Deva. Kapila Deva, the Supreme Lord himself, he gives instructions to his mother Devahuti, and then he is taking the permission of his mother. He is instructing. He is the spiritual master. Yet he is taking permission from his mother. Can I leave home now? You see, this idea of I don't need permission, I don't need approval to do things is not very wise. So we can see from various examples throughout Bhagavatam, this is continuously described as how devotees take permission, they get approval for various things. So this is one important point to note. Then it is also important to note that how did Maharaja Yudhisthira conduct the kingdom? So Chakara Rajyam Dharmena. So he executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes and royal principles. Now this is very, very important. So when one is executing a specific duty, it has to be done in compliance with certain rules and regulations. So there is Raja Dharma. There is a duty of a king as how he should rule, and that should be based on the scriptures. The Vedic civilization is so nice that it has this Varna and Ashrama, the 4 social and 4 spiritual orders. So everyone is duty bound. Everyone is supposed to execute a duty in a specific way. So the duty of the Kshatriya is to execute power. The Kshatriya has a lot of power, administrative power. So he uses that power for the well-being of the citizens in a way that is guided by the scriptures. And the Brahmanas are the ones who give us guidance which is based on the scriptures to the Kshatriyas. Kshatriya's duty is to protect the well-being of the people and based on the scriptures, but they are advised by the Brahmanas as what are the instructions and guidance given in scriptures. And the Vaishyas, they take care of the economic development of the kingdom. And Shudras, who are not very intelligent, they assist all these three classes of people in doing their duties. So everyone has a specific duty. So unless one does not understand what is a duty, and as Prabhupada writes in the purport, the king is to see the welfare of the citizens from all angles of social, political, economic, and spiritual upliftment. This is very important. Unfortunately, today we can see how the modern day government leaders are so narrow in their focus of what it constitutes to mean what is welfare. Welfare means only economic development, primarily driven by economic development. In any news, in any paper, what is happening? Oh, we are becoming a $1 trillion economy. We are increasing from this trillion to that trillion. We are having this industry to that industry. We are making this much money. This is the only criteria of welfare. And people today have become so narrow-minded that what it means to have a good life means good salary. We have equated it so simplistic way, without considering there are many aspects. And most importantly, a spiritual upliftment is completely forgotten. There is never a discussion, but that is an important role. That is the most important role of the king, to see whether are the people in the kingdom going towards their ultimate goal, towards the ultimate perfection of their life. Are the people who are in the kingdom, are they following the system appropriately? What is appropriate means? So Prabhupada says that the king must see whether the Brahmana, is he a qualified Brahmana? Is he doing his work or not? Is the Vaishya doing the business according to the codes, according to the appropriate rules and regulations, or is he randomly trying to make profit by illegal ways? So there has to be a system. The king has to ensure that the system is rightly placed and is functioning rightly. So if these things are not taken care, then we will have people who are unqualified taking a specific position. And as it will be described further in Bhagavatam, especially towards the chapters where Maharaj Parishit is going to deal with Kali, there are various symptoms of the Kali Yuga described, and one of the symptoms that is described is that the governments will be led by Shudras. Unqualified men will rule the countries. Now, when unqualified men lead the societies, the governments, the real aim of life is forgotten. That is never given a priority. And there is flourishing of rogues and thieves in the society. As we can see, in order to increase the economic growth, people think, oh, let me increase more and more liquor shops. I don't care where people go. They may go to hell. They may go and, they get destroyed. But for me, all that I care is money, and therefore, what will happen to their health? I don't care. Let drugs be given. Let liquor be given. So very unfortunate situation. And the world has become so numb that no one pays attention to these things anymore. That it has become so normalized to have liquor shops, smoking shops, everywhere. But the king is meant to regulate these things and not encourage these things. So this is the unfortunate situation of the Kali Yuga. And in this regard, Prabhupada also brings two important points. Prabhupada says that in this verse, two aspects that are talked about is the qualification and duty. So everything or everyone is to be understood or judged by the qualification that they have and the duty that they are doing. If that doesn't match, they are not what they claim to be. Prabhupada gives the example of a doctor. Prabhupada says that not just that the doctor, first, in order to be qualified, the doctor has to pass a certain examination. He has to be approved by a certain medical body that yes, he is an approved doctor. And then it is not sufficient that he is just a qualified doctor, but then he sits at home and he does something else. Then you cannot call him a doctor because his actions are no more representing that of a doctor. So he is also not a doctor. So unless one is not certified and unless one is not performing that activity, one is not actually a doctor. So similarly, Prabhupada says that it is very important for all of us to judge who is who. If someone says he's a doctor, he's a lawyer, he's this, he's that, he's a Brahmana, he's a Kshatriya, he's a Vaishya, is he qualified? Or is he in the name only? Because in today's world, Kali Yuga, as Prabhupada writes towards the end, the mass of people, especially in this age of Kali, are all born Shudras. Basically low-born, ill-trained, unfortunate. Because we mistake one to another. Because we do not know how to see things. But how to see things? Who is a bona fide guru? Who is not a bona fide guru? We have to see very carefully. Is he qualified? Qualified based upon the scriptures? Has he gone through the training? And is he performing the activities as someone who is supposed to be in that role? It can be a guru, father, mother, king, a priest. Are they only in the name? Unfortunately today, most places, most of the people are in name only what they claim to be. So unless we don't have this vision to see whether they are qualified in performing the rightful activities, we'll be unfortunate to associate with people who are not qualified. And we think, oh, we are making advancement by being with this kind of people. But no, they are not real brahmanas, they are not real leaders of the society. So everyone has a certain characteristic. And we have to see that characteristic and the activities that they are doing. Without that, otherwise, if we do not see that, we'll be misguided. We will see someone has 1 million followers on YouTube, and we will think, oh, he is the rightful person to follow. But that is not the case. That is not how one should see things. So these are some very important things Prabhupada brings out, that this aspect to judge anyone as who they are, one should look at their qualification and their activities. And here, Prabhupada is explaining what are the activities of Maharaja Yudhisthira. He's not just a mere tax collector. And today's kings and rulers we see, they are increasingly finding ways and means to just increase the taxes. And they're unqualified. They're not trained. There is no place to train a king. We have so many departments of knowledge and in the universities, but there's no department to train a good leader. There is only a business leader who can make money. But how to govern properly? There is no training. So it's a very unfortunate situation. It's topsy-turvy. So if you do not have a good king who is not trained, then definitely he is going to do things which are not meant for the well-being of the people. And Prabhupada is saying that what is the characteristic of a good king? He is always conscious of his duty, which is no less than that of a father or a spiritual master. Always responsible, always conscious of the duty. This has to be the characteristic of a leader. And leader, be it a father, be it a spiritual master or a king, one must be conscious of the duty and be responsible. Otherwise, they're in name only. Just like people are producing a lot of children, but they do not have any responsibility. They're not conscious of what is that they're supposed to do. Am I just meant to produce children and not mean what it means to have children and how to guide them? Then we are in name only parents. There is a specific duty to guide. There are specific activities as a mother and father one is supposed to perform. Similarly, as a spiritual master, there are specific activities that one is supposed to perform. If not, it is name only. So, the king must know that the human life is meant for liberating the encaged soul from the bondage of material conditions. And therefore, very in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the 4th chapter, we see that the Lord instructs His knowledge to Vivaswan. And Prabhupada writes that this knowledge is first given to all kings of all the planets, because they have to rule, they have to take care of the people. And if they are not presented with this knowledge of the real goal of life, all the activities that one is performing, if they are not meant to liberate the soul from this material engagement, then it is all of so little value. Then all secondary principles, secondary activities, unwanted activities take precedence over the most important activity, and the whole society is unhappy, struggling. So it is very important. The kings must be educated. Therefore, it is his duty to see that the citizens are properly looked after to attain the highest stage of perfection. But in no place we can see that this is a goal. No king, no president, no prime minister is aware about these principles. But one can see that Maharaja Yudhisthira was not like this. He was strictly following these principles, governing the kingdom so as to ensure that the people are uplifted economically, socially, politically, and spiritually. This is very important. Now, in various places, Prabhupada says, yes, this Bhagavatam can actually Nigama Kalpataror, a desired tree. It can give different aspects of knowledge, sociology, political philosophy. Prabhupada says, Vedas means different branches of knowledge. And this, being the cream of knowledge, actually it has all the essential elements to lead a good society, good country, and elevate one to the highest perfection. So, these principles, if taken well, Prabhupada, in fact, in various conversations, he says, yes, we can provide political philosophy for the governments to rule. You can come to us, we will teach you. So actually, Bhagavatam is just not like it is meant for some sages who are living, in a secluded place, or who wants to do some magic or some sort of, trickery in the name of being a saintly person. No, it is actually a practical philosophy. A practical philosophy which is meant to elevate all strata of people in all ways possible to the highest perfection. So this is very important to see Bhagavatam and how Srila Prabhupada is also presenting this knowledge so as to encompass this knowledge is all pervading. That means it can enter into all spheres of knowledge, be it law, medicine, every field of knowledge. If this philosophy of Bhagavatam is applied, there will be such wonderful atmosphere that can be created, be it in businesses, be it in all different fields. Maharaj Yudhisthira is the ideal monarch, and monarchy under a trained king like Maharaja Yudhisthira is by far the most superior form of government, superior to modern republics or governments of the people by the people. So Prabhupada again and again in various places emphasizes this, that according to Vedic culture, monarchy is the recommended way of governing. Now, people may say, oh, monarchy is so bad, this and that, but Prabhupada says, why today's monarchy is bad? Monarchy as such is not bad, but monarchy, when the king thinks himself to be all in all, when the king forgets that he is a representative of the Supreme Lord. Actually, king is meant to be a representative of the Lord. A spiritual master is a representative of the Supreme Lord. A father is also meant to be a representative of the Lord. Anyone who's guiding has to be doing this activity as a representative of the Lord. No power should be taken independent of the Lord. But when the monarchs, they take power independent of the Supreme Lord, when they don't act as a representative of the Lord, then there is a problem. Then the monarchy becomes something else. But in an ideal Vedic system, monarchy means the king is actually trained. First, he is made to become qualified. And then approved. Just like in this case, Maharaj Dhritarashtra, and Lord Krishna are approving that yes, now you can rule. Only then they become king. Not, I have learned some skills, I will become the king. I'll find a way to kill my brothers and become the king. I'll try to kill my father and I'll become a king. No, not like that. By approval. So it's very important as how actual monarchy is supposed to function. And Prabhupada is also explaining the defects of democracy, especially in an age of Kali Yuga, where people are manipulated very easily. And if people can be manipulated so easily, how can you vote rightfully? And when people are so ignorant, they have no real knowledge. How can you vote who is the right person? So, Prabhupada is giving the example of this mass people in this age are ill-trained, low-born, unfortunate, badly associated. And they themselves do not know what is highest perfection of life. So how do I know who is going to give me highest perfection of life? The only parameter of calibration is, does he belong to my community? Is he going to give me some free money? Is he going to give me some more sense gratification? That is the only criteria for a voter to make an vote in most cases. Similarly, the people who are being elected, they are also same. How do I maximize my sense gratification? How do I fulfill my ulterior motives? The real well-being is not present of the people. The king is also thinking, let me grab some power for some time. The king, the president, the prime ministers, by votes this way or that way. Let me spend crores of rupees, millions of rupees, dollars, and let me somewhere or the other become president for some time. And the goal is not for the welfare, for some other ulterior motive, some personal ambition. So if personal ambitions drive the kings and the leaders of the society, how can there be well-being of the people? Actually, the king and the leaders of the society are meant to sacrifice everything for the well-being of the people. But in a democracy where people are not trained, and there is no responsibility, because after every 5 years, 4 years, I'm going to change anyway. What happens after that, I don't care. For this 4 years, I care. And I care in a very minimal way, just so that I can remain in the power for 4 years, this way or that way. And therefore, the basic point Prabhupada is saying is that, therefore, votes cast by them actually have no value, and thus persons elected by such irresponsible votes cannot be responsible representatives like Maharaja Yudhisthira. This is a very important point. In democracy, there is no absolute responsibility. The leader can say, you elected me. It is your responsibility that you chose me. And he can go away. And anyway, after 5 years, it's gone. And he will say, we all decided as a committee together. I'm not responsible. See, no, you cannot hold responsible if a country is going down the drain. You do not know whom to find fault with. But if there's a monarch, you can absolutely tell, yes, you are completely responsible for this mess. In democracy, they will say, the states are not following something. States will say, the federal government is not following this. And people play like this. So it's a very unfortunate situation where if there are no responsible leaders, there cannot be peace and prosperity in the society. And therefore, the presentation of Bhagavatam is very important because this deep bodily conception of life creates so much chaos in the society. And people who are bodily, driven by the bodily concept of life, they're only interested in bodily concept of well-being. That too in a minimalistic sense. And even more so, they are interested in their own bodily well-being. In such a society, there can be never peace. And that is happening all over the world today. And the glories of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita is that it can dispel this myth of the bodily conception of life, and it brings one to the real light that we are all meant to serve the Supreme Lord. We are all meant to inquire into the absolute truth and serve the Supreme Lord. In that, only one can find peace and prosperity in society, not otherwise. So these are some beautiful explanations by Srila Prabhupada and beautiful verses which throw light on what is the qualification and characteristics of a king should be. And we'll stop here and see if there are any questions or comments.